They say some flights never land. They just keep circling in the dark, carrying souls that were never meant to fly. It started like any other night flight. The departure board at JFK flashed Flight 731 to Las Vegas. A red-eye, cheap, packed, running late. Passengers shuffled aboard with heavy eyes and carry-ons, all chasing something. In row 17, a young couple, Sarah and Jake, were on their way to elope. She wore a maroon hoodie, sleeves pulled over her hands, the kind of comfort where people choose for overnight flights. He clutched a worn backpack with rings inside. In row 22, Mr. Harris, a tired salesman, mumbled into his phone about missed quotas and angry clients. Two college friends, Mark and Ryan, laughed too loud as they stuffed snacks into the overhead. Their plan, 4 days in Vegas, no sleep, no rules. But one man stood apart, dressed in a gray suit too old for its seams. Pale skin stretched tight across his face. He carried nothing but a single paper boarding pass. His eyes darted too quickly, like they were following whispers the others couldn't hear. The gate agent frowned at his ticket. "Sir, this seat doesn't exist. There's no 13A on this aircraft." The man smiled faintly, lips cracked. "Tonight, there is." She blinked. For a moment, the screen on her counter glitched, the seat chart rearranging itself, as though the number 13A had always been there. Against her better judgment, she let him through. Inside the cabin, the man slipped into the seat no one else could see on the manifest. 13A. The passengers around him shifted uneasily, as if sensing something in the air. And then, she appeared. A woman, pale and silent, materialized in the seat beside him. Her hair clung wet to her face, and the smell of burnt jet fuel drifted through the aisle. No one else seemed to notice, except a boy in row 14 who turned to look, eyes widening in terror. The boy tugged his mother's sleeve, whispering about the woman dripping black water onto the carpet. But his mother hushed him. The engines roared and the flight lifted into the night. For the first hour, everything was normal. Drinks clinked, earbuds buzzed, but every time the plane hit turbulence, the pale woman in 13A leaned closer to her companion, whispering in the same rhythm as the engine hum. Her voice carried down the aisle, brushing past passengers' ears like static. "Breathe deep. It remembers you." At 2:07 a.m., the seatbelt sign flickered. The captain's voice came over the speaker, too calm. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing slight cabin pressure issues. Oxygen masks will deploy shortly." The masks dropped, but they weren't bright yellow. They dangled in brittle fabric, hoses black with mold, rubber cracked as though they had been rotting for decades. Sarah grabbed hers first, but as she inhaled, she didn't get oxygen. She heard whispers filling her head, a chorus of voices, crying, laughing, pleading. She tore it off, gasping, her eyes wild. Jake tried his, then threw it aside, gagging. But others weren't strong enough. A businessman in row 18 clutched his mask, and his body went slack, head rolling as if he'd fallen asleep. His lips moved faintly, repeating words none could hear. The flight attendants walked calmly down the aisle, but their eyes were hollow. "Breathe deep," one repeated. "It remembers you." The lights flickered and every window showed something different. Sarah's view was endless black ocean. Harris saw a storm split by violet lightning. Across the aisle, another passenger stared at a world burning red. Each jolt of turbulence swapped passengers. A man vanished, replaced by a sobbing girl in a prom dress. A child disappeared. Now a soldier with half his face burned sat buckled in his place. Mark and Ryan laughed nervously at the chaos until the next violent drop. Their row sparked with light, and in a blink, they were gone. Strangers sat in their seats, a woman in funeral black, a hollow-eyed man with dirt-stained hands. Neither looked surprised. But through the cracked window, Sarah saw Mark and Ryan, suspended outside, drifting in fire and shadow, mouths open in silent screams. Then, the vision vanished with the next smooth patch of air. Jake gripped her hand. It's not the same flight anymore. It's crossing through something. At the heart of it all, the man in 13A smiled. The pale woman beside him whispered faster, feeding the storm. He wasn't just a passenger. He was a collector. Every swap, every stolen soul belonged to him. The plane groaned violently. Metal scraped as if claws dragged along the fuselage from the outside. Passengers screamed as the cabin shuddered. The intercom burst alive. The captain's voice fractured through static. We're not alone out here. Then another sound layered over it, a deep, inhuman growl echoing in every speaker. It didn't come from the cockpit. It came from outside, scratching against the thin skin of the aircraft. Windows cracked with each scrape. Frost bled through the seams, though they were 30,000 feet above Nevada. Harris pressed his face to the glass and saw something. A shape outside, gliding silently beside the plane. Wings wider than the aircraft itself, body faceless, with hands dragging long nails across the fuselage. Its eyes burned red. The black box recorded every second. The alarms, the passengers' screams, the captain begging for control, and under it all, that growl. Inside, chaos peaked. Oxygen masks whispered, lights stuttered. Passengers flickered in and out of existence, sometimes strangers, sometimes shadows. Some vanished, leaving only crumpled seatbelts. Sarah tried to move, but each time she shifted seats, the pale woman appeared beside her, closer, smiling. Jake shouted at the man in 13A. What are you? The man tilted his head. I am what flies between flights, the empty seat they never sell. Tonight, you're all mine. The lights cut out. The engines died. Silence swallowed the cabin. For a moment there was nothing. Then the plane jolted back alive. Engines roaring, lights blinding. It was daytime. The Las Vegas Strip glittered below. The captain's voice, steady again, announced descent. But half the passengers were gone. The seats where they had sat held only faint burns, or wet stains, or nothing at all. The survivors, Sarah, Jake, Harris, and a handful of others, stared around in silent horror. None of them spoke until the wheels hit the runway. When investigators later retrieved the black box, they didn't believe what they heard. Screams, alarms, static, and that low growl layered beneath the captain's final words. We never landed. No report was filed. The airline quietly paid off families, wrote it off as turbulence. The world moved on, but the survivors didn't. Sarah woke every night to the smell of jet fuel, to whispers in her dreams, telling her to breathe deep. Jake refused to board another plane. Harris quit his job, avoiding windows at all costs. And Mark? And Ryan? Their names never appeared on the final passenger list. To their families, it was as if they had never boarded the plane at all. Yet Sarah remembered their laughter before the storm and the glimpse of their faces screaming through the glass. And sometimes, when you look at the seat map while booking, you'll see it flash for a moment. Seat 13. A. Waiting. Because some flights never end. They just circle forever, carrying the souls collected along the way.